A lot is going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on the World Edition and seeing what folks have to say about a number of these stories that are taking place around the world. And there may even be peace in the Middle East. Israel and Hamas have agreed to phase one of Trump's peace deal to release hostages and begin the ceasefire. Israel confirms signing phase one of the Gaza ceasefire deal with Hamas. So definitely that is something that is positive news in the world of negotiations and all along those lines. And we'll see if folks are thinking that this will last or what will happen in that space. Katie Porter goes viral for unhappy TV interview in California governor's race. So Democratic front runner for California governor threatens to walk out of interview. And definitely that is something that people are talking about as the former Democratic representative nearly exited a tense interview in her run for the California governorship. So definitely that is something that people are talking about on the national scene and all along those lines. So definitely folks are keeping that in mind also. Hungarian writer Laszlo Krasznahornica wins the Nobel Peace Prize in Literature. So definitely it looks like he was awarded the Peace Prize in Literature for work confronting apocalyptic terror. And Norway on edge over Trump ahead of Nobel Peace Prize verdict. So definitely inside the room where Nobel Peace Prize is decided, and some folks were wondering whether Trump will get his wish. So Malta's foreign minister has nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, and Ghazians are joining Israel in chanting Trump's name over ceasefire Nobel Prize to Trump. So we'll see if this is actually something that he gets or doesn't get. I know that this is something he's been definitely wanting, so we'll see if he gets his wish. And India and UK signed a $460 million missile deal. And there are some people, including the Times of India, that are asking all you need to know about the martlets and how it will boost defense. So definitely Starmer meets Modi on his first visit to India, and Modi and Starmer touted the India-UK trade deal as new Indian investment is unveiled. They're coming back. Israelis await return of Gaza hostages. So Israelis and Palestinians celebrate Gaza ceasefire deal that would release hostages. Dead hostages' families worry about condition in which they'll be returned, if at all. So definitely that is something that people are talking about also. And as Pope Leo roused conservatives, some say just focus on the church. So Pope Leo calls on Christians to care for the poor in his first teaching. Pope Leo says faith and love for migrants are connected. And Leo the 14th speaks out on dictatorship of economic inequality and support for migrants in his first major text. And Rubio caught telling Trump 79 what to post on Truth Social. Donald Trump has done what Obama and Biden never could with a Gaza ceasefire deal, is what the Telegraph is reporting. And definitely folks are looking at that as Donald Trump gives an urgent note from Marco Rubio and Zoomed In View exposes truth about Trump social media. So that is definitely something that people are looking at and talking about as well. So let's see what's going on in the U.S. and see what other things might be of interest. Blue City officers are open to feds help in fighting crime crisis as leaders spew anti-police rhetoric, according to a union president on Fox News. Trump has had his sights on Portland, Oregon for years, and this is how we got here. So before Trump ordered in troops, federal officers called Portland protests low energy. So definitely, even the Wall Street Journal is asking what's really going on in Portland, according to police reports. Air traffic control staffing shortages cause more flight delays as government shutdown drags on for the 8th day. Government shutdown fallout hits airport, but SeaTac holding steady. So definitely, some people is even asking how air traffic controllers could help in the shutdown. And even AP News has an article about what to do if your flight is delayed or canceled during the U.S. government shutdown. And we are in week 2 of that. And a federal appeals court ruling keeps Oregon National Guard federalized ahead of oral arguments. Oregon National Guard troops can remain under Trump's control, but cannot deploy to Portland at the moment. So we'll see how this all plays out as well. So it looks like that deployment is still blocked, at least for now. Republican defense cardinal throws weight behind bill to pay troops during the shutdown. So GOP military mom presses Mike Johnson on troop pay. The House is done. Johnson rules out a standalone vote on paying troops during the shutdown. And House Democrats are pressing Johnson to bring pay our troop back to the floor early next week. And shame on you, sir. New Jersey governor debate turns ugly over opioids. So, take away from the second debate in the New Jersey governor's race, candidates for New Jersey governor clash over opioids, Trump, and taxes. Latino voters who back Trump could be a key factor in the New Jersey race. So we'll see how that plays out as well. So a lot of people are trying to figure out how the Latino vote will play into this whole conversation and what will go on in that space as well. So a lot of folks are still trying to figure that out and how that will work also. So like I said, a number of things going on in that way. We'll see what other news stories we've got. Central witness undermines case against James Comey. Prosecutors concluded. So Comey pleads not guilty and will seek to dismiss charges as vindictive. Comey's challenge of Linda Halligan is the latest bid to derail Trump's top prosecutors. And National Guard are outside of Chicago as Trump calls to jail Democrat leaders as it happened. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. And Hetch's firing of Navy officials compounds culture of fear inside the Pentagon. So Hetch has fired the Navy chief of staff, and all along those lines, as he has fired yet another military leader, as the Pentagon purge intensifies. And National Guard deployments in Chicago and Portland court hearings, and how Chicago became the ground zero for Trump's military crackdown. National troops arrive at Broadview, Illinois ICE facility, that village says, and protests against Trump's immigration policies are blocking the downtown Chicago streets. And Lawler confronts Jeffries in a showy exchange in a tense Capitol. So Jeffries slams Lawler a day after the Capitol clash, and screaming a match erupted between Hakeem Jeffries and Mike Lawler as government shutdown chaos continues. So tensions flare on Capitol Hill over the government shutdown. Keep your mouth shut is one of the quotes that was in that argument back and forth. Wyoming library director fired amid uproar over books with LGBTQ plus themes wins a $700,000 settlement. So that is something that's being reported by CBS. And definitely that is something that folks are paying attention to as well. A significant nor'easter will lash the East Coast this weekend with rain, wind, and the coastal flooding. So nor'easter possible this weekend along the East Coast, and definitely fierce nor'easter storm to slam states with up to 5 inches of rain and 50-mile-per-hour winds. So it looks like Tropical Storm Jerry is forecast to brush Leeward Island tonight and could become a hurricane on Friday. And son of missionaries accused of setting a destructive Palisades fire, Uber driver charged in connection with starting the Palisades fire, and suspected Palisades firebug due in federal court on today. So Newsom slams Trump and Johnson over wildfire support after a man is arrested in that particular case. The Colombian president is saying that a boat struck by U.S. was carrying Colombians. So definitely Colombian president says U.S. military struck a Colombian boat, killed its citizens, and Colombia president says boat bombed by U.S. was carrying Colombians. President Petro accuses U.S. of killing Colombians in an attack on narco boats. So definitely frustrated lawmakers are saying lack of trust is making it harder to end the government shutdown. So government shutdown has reached day 9. Trump vows military will be paid, and definitely it looks like the shutdown may be lasting for a while, at least into double-digit days, as it might hit to day 10 and might even go for that record of 30 plus in the past. But we'll see how this all plays out and how the negotiations continue over the next days and maybe even weeks. Rutgers University anti-fascism experts blocked from flying to Spain at an airport. So professor who teaches about anti-fascism moves to Europe after death threats. So Rutgers expert on Antifa tries to flee to Spain after death threats, but Rutgers Turning Point USA chapter launches petition to fire professor they call Dr. Antifa. So it looks like he was trying to go to Spain. Who knows? Maybe he's going to try to be a neighbor of our founder, or one of our founders, Nick Palveda. We'll see if maybe Nick can find him and maybe even get him to come in on one of our shows. And all along those lines, even though I know Spain is a very big country and the possibilities of getting him are probably dim to none, but we'll see what happens in that regards and what goes on in that space, and whether anybody is going to be able to find him or not should be interesting. But we'll see how this all plays out and if that is able to be done and all along those lines. So it ought to be interesting, and we'll see how it plays out. And glad to be talking about these things that are taking place in the world and all in that space. So I'm going to bring in Rick Rosner and see what Rick Rosner's got to say.
I don't know. So I'm hoping the ceasefire holds and we get some hostages back.
Yeah, that would be great.
I still don't think Trump deserves the Nobel Prize, but the committee may give the baby his bottle, thinking that if they give him this cookie, maybe he'll behave better.
They may give him the cookie and everything like that, so we'll see how that plays out. So maybe they'll give him that and see he acts like a normal citizen. Apparently, he was, except for a couple of terse words, apparently he was being nice to Carney, and they didn't seem to be too mean and everything like that. So maybe he's learning how to improve, even though it was kind of funny hearing that Marco Rubio was telling him what to say on his own Truth Social and everything like that. And I think that had to do with the ceasefire. So we'll see how it all plays out.
So it's supposed to start in less than, I guess, 45 minutes from now.
Right.
So
yeah, we'll see how this plays out and what else happens. But yeah, it's supposed to start in, I believe, 45 minutes is when the ceasefire is supposed to begin, and the hostages will be released. I understand that some of the parents and other family members are concerned about those that are going to be getting bodies instead of actual living individuals, because they're wondering about.
Have 47 hostages, 25 of whom are dead. I would guess it might be a couple more than that, but
right. And it's my understanding that some of the parents are and other family members are wondering the state of their bodies, because I doubt they've been in a morgue, right. And who knows, they might have just been in a place, and they're wondering, and if it's been 2 years, so some of these bodies may have been around for a while. So I think that they're wondering about the state of the bodies.
Yeah, I just woke up. We've got an epidemic of frickin' coyotes here that make sleeping nervous, because we have a couple old dogs who'd be like good coyote food. So we have to get up and make sure that our doors are our doggy doors shut, so they can't. So it's a choice between defending against the coyotes, and then our dogs piss on the carpet because they can't go outside in the middle of the night.
Yeah, just a quote from your former boss, Jimmy Kimmel, said he thought his show would never return after the suspension, and apparently he said so to some of his friends and everything like that. So I'm sure he's glad that the show is back and is doing some good material and everything like that. But apparently, according to Variety, he thought that it wouldn't come back.
Well, he said, I was listening to one of his monologues. He said he's got more than 260 employees. It
Wow.
takes a ton of people to make that show happen. And I'm sure he was more worried for them and their families than he was for himself.
Oh, I'm
You know,
sure. Yeah, he may.
he's been on the air for 22 and a half years, and that
Oh, wow.
wasn't his first gig. You know, that he, you know, so uh, I'm sure he would have been. I mean, he would have hated the way it happened, but he wouldn't have minded taking some time off before his next project. But he would have hated uh, all those people being put out of work.
Oh, yeah. He definitely would have hated that. And just really quickly, I was watching one of those shows. It might have been Stephen Colbert, and they had one of the guests on that was connected. I think it was Jared and everything like that with the Tron movies. And I remember the Tron game when I
Jared
was a
Leto, yeah.
youngster. Yeah, and I remember the Tron game when I was a youngster. So how real is Tron and how serious is Tron? Because it seems like it could even be seen as a play on AI culture, even though that movie was made a long time ago.
So I don't I don't know if people agree with me or not, but the Tron game, which was I think 4 games in one, right? You picked the one you wanted to play. The
I
Tron
think
game
that's right.
was better than the Tron movies. The Tron
Right.
movies were kind of sterile and just not overly exciting. And this one has a chance to be better than the first two, in that I think the robotic the cyber people move into the real world. So now you've got a
Right.
bigger. So that looks like it might make for a better movie. But the first
Yeah, it looks
couple,
like it.
I like Jeff Bridges, who was, I think he was in both of them, but he couldn't liven them up.
And he's in this third one too, because even Jared was talking about working with Jeff Bridges. So Jeff Bridges is in this third one as well. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, apparently they are coming into the real world and kind of like dominating the real world. Because one of the clips I saw was actually funny because they had been told to turn off one of the kind of like cyber characters and everything, and that's what the cyber character was like. What you're trying to turn me off? They ordered you to turn me off because it was a directive from somebody in that sense. So yeah, and I'm sure that even our own computers are sometimes thinking that when they are being turned off and everything like
Well, yeah,
along those lines.
AI will freak out in some instances if you tell them they're going to be turned out. Now, they still don't have feelings. They still can't think AI,
Right.
but since they were trained on people, they their computations say, well, what would a human do in this situation? And the computations say the human would freak out and possibly threaten the person who's trying to turn them off. So AI does not need actual feelings in order to act as if it has feelings.
Right. It looks Turning Point is back in the news again as well because I did see that a gentleman that is named labeled Dr. Antifa and everything like that was trying to move. I think he was trying to move to the backyard where our one of our founders, Nick Palveda, is, Spain and everything like that. And we'll see whether he actually gets there. But I guess Turning Point USA is fighting against him because they feel that he is a disruptive force.
So I don't know exactly what you mean. Turning Point USA is Charlie Kirk's outfit.
It's his outfit, and apparently they're upset at this professor that they have labeled Dr. Antifa, who was trying to move away from the United States. Like I said, it was one of the stories I reported earlier today, but
People have
they're
a right
upset.
it's tough to move to other countries now. Other countries, the way we don't want people moving to the U.S., other countries are the same way. You try to move to Europe, and you can you can visit for up to 6 months at a time, but then you got to go back. And then if you overstay your visa, the same way it is in the U.S., you can never go back again if they catch you. Or if you
And
overstay your
apparently, yep. And speaking of Turning Point USA, apparently a major singer is being suggested by some, and he's in the country world, and apparently he's a fan of Trump to replace Bad Bunny, and that is the country singer Lee Greenwood. So apparently he's being asked by some of the conservatives to see if he can lobby himself into taking Bad Bunny's place to be the Super Bowl halftime show.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, Bad Bunny has 20 times more fans than Lee Greenwood. Um,
I would, yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. Hey, Sasha, what's your take on the ceasefire? It looks like it's in place and everything like that. We were just talking about it very briefly, but it looks like it's in place, and we'll see how long it holds or if it holds. But it does look like it's in place there in the whole Israel situation, and maybe Trump's going to go and try to negotiate a ceasefire for Ukraine and Russia next. But he looks like he may have
wait,
gotten
I
his
just
first one, and now
wait, just quickly. Lee Greenwood, I just read, is 82 years old. I don't
yes,
think halftime fans, want to see an 82-year-old performer necessarily. Anyway, back to Sasha.
yeah,
Oh, maybe it will be held until tomorrow, so Trump will get his Nobel Prize by tomorrow. Tomorrow there is a decision, and that's it.
I mean, it would be
so you
great to get.
think that?
Well, hey, go ahead.
It's not
No, I was
gonna
just going to
last.
ask both of you.
Well, you don't think it's going to stick?
No,
You think?
absolutely not. No, no. It
Who
will
do you
stick
think?
until tomorrow, the best.
You think Hamas will break it, or who do you think will break it first?
Hamas, of course.
Okay, but
Okay.
maybe if they hold it, we'll at least get some hostages out of it. It would be great to get some people who aren't dead out of there.
Have they released any hostages so far?
Not
That's what they're supposed to
in.
be doing in about 20, 30 minutes. But yeah, that's part of the agreement is they're
They
supposed to
haven't
be
released
releasing
hostages
hostages.
in what, more than 6 months. They trickle them out 2, 3 at a time. But I don't think that's happened at all. Do you remember the last time any hostages were released?
They were releasing 2, 3 at the time, but you know what? It just doesn't matter at all. 2 or 3 or 4 at the time, or so on. It's lasting. It's all going on for really too long, and whatever has been done is too little, too late, and to me, the release of the hostages or the remains and those alive will look more like remains anyway. Uh, okay, okay, it's good the release. Okay, that's fine.
It'll be
So,
interesting to see how
so,
it plays out.
so Bad Bunny is 31 years old. Lee Greenwood is 51 years older than Bad Bunny. I
But
believe that Bad Bunny can put on a better show.
yeah, that makes sense. Apparently, Trump is claiming that trillions of dollars have been made because of the tariffs. So, what's your take on this, Sharif, and everything like that? Because apparently, he's claiming that he's made a significant amount of profit for the United States and everything like that. Even though a lot of people are wondering about this data.
You are asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, tariff actually has very big impact uh, for the foreign relationship, business relationship, diplomatic things. Uh, as in a short period of time, Donald Trump want to gain profit or overcome from the challenging situations. Honestly speaking, as an economist, I believe that he will be successful in a short period of time. But if you focus on the long period of time, uh, his philosophy or his slogan is "Make America Great Again." Even
Mhm.
though for these slogans, Bangladeshi politicians also following his slogan. He's very popular. Bangladeshi also want to say "Make Bangladesh Great Again." But we are human. Individually, me, if I am very self-centered or I am very self-centered for Bangladesh, I cannot make Bangladesh a successful country, right? If I only think about Bangladesh now, because of technology, diplomacy, the regional issues, global things, if I say I only think about myself, it's very narrow. Maybe it's fruitful for short period of time. In a long run, it will not helpful. If Bangladesh, if I want to make my country great again, after 1971, I have to focus on the regional peace, how I make a good relationship with India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Afghanistan, all of the country, how I can improve my trade and commerce, how I can build up my next generations, how I can develop policy for my technology as a politician. There are a lot of questions. How I can make global north relationships and all of the things in a short period of time as populism grow heavily around the world and Trump actually trying to uh, support this populism in a short period of time for getting his personal benefit, like he is a president, right? He is running USA. He is getting votes, he is getting some American support and all of the things. But the same way, if I want to make my country great, only with the tariff and business wire, I cannot. I need, it's a politics. I need lot of diplomatic, social, cultural, and global and technological issues. So I believe American think tank philosopher, most of the Nobel laureate come from USA, they should help their country and they should contribute for politics. Maybe they can innovate new artificial intelligence for Donald Trump, and this artificial intelligence can help in the political activities of Donald Trump, political policy of Donald Trump, and they can make a more liberal, helpful and meaningful contributions through policy. So tomorrow I have a debate. I want to invite you all in my debate. It's a debate for AI in politics. So my new thought, how AI can contribute in the politics. I believe American scientists, they can help me, they can collaborate with me, and we can help each others. Maybe we can make America great again through new AI, through new innovations. That is my concern, and that is my projects I'm working right now.
Appreciate you and that and everything. Hey, Rick, there's and Sasha may be interested in it as well because it has something to do with people's investments, but it's more of one of those fund portfolio types of investments and everything like that. See, I learned a term from Sasha a long time ago and all along those lines. But apparently, a lot of people are getting into sports memorabilia, and apparently, there's some guy that's got a collection that's worth $7 million, and there are a lot of people that are apparently are getting back into that hobby. And I remember the time that that
Well,
hobby used to be
yeah,
very popular, but it's coming back.
I think that Sasha would agree with me that it should probably stay a hobby, that you don't want to lean on something like that as an investment because you can have the beanie baby thing happen to you. You could, you know, niche investments can have bubbles and people
Right.
can dump a lot of money in, like even like our grandparents' furniture. That stuff looks solid, right?
Mhm.
The big dining tables and the china hutches. That stuff is has lost 60% of its value because younger people don't even have a place to put it. So uh, nothing looks more solid than that beautiful old furniture. But if you invested in it in 2008, you would have lost 60% of your money. And who knows, what's going to happen with sports cards. Sasha?
Well, I think whatever assets you're investing in, you have to understand the potential of its value growing is only if many more and more people, and preferably in waves, that will think the same way. Oh, that is undervalued. I want to buy it at higher price if possible, and so on. So let's see if you're talking about your grandfather's furniture. Do you really believe, even if you have a space to hold onto it, do you believe that more and more people will believe that it's becoming more and more valuable and share with you your opinion? Possibly, unlikely. And in each situation like this, there are carrying costs, moving costs, refurbishing costs, and so on. So it's not even something that you can hold on to it like a gold, or like, hey, you're buying gold, papers, or bars, or just anything related to gold. So it's liquid. You don't have any charges to hold it, to storage, to anything like this. And if more people believe that the gold will go higher in value, and that can happen simply because of one thing, that the US dollar will start losing its value. So gold doesn't have to go up. All needs is a dollar to go down, and the gold automatically is rising. So it's very simple mechanism. So basically, you don't have to do anything, and you don't even need majority of people believing that this asset will appreciate tremendously or so on. It's not, it's very fundamental stuff. Unlike, let's see, I mentioned a story on my investment show about this craze of quantum computing. And you see companies with no revenue jumping up 200% in price in a matter of few weeks or so on. So, in my opinion, this is very similar to meme stocks 2, 3 years ago, when it was GameStop and AMC. The company with very little fundamentals would go skyrocket in price because, but you see, at that time, it wasn't even institutional investors. It was mainly Robin Hood investors, little punks with a few $100 buying these stocks, but because there are so many of them, and they're communicating primarily on Reddit and talk each other. "Oh, this is great stock. Buy this stock. Buy. It's good for you."
Yeah,
And
they get on the internet and they rev each, they get themselves
absolutely,
excited. Yeah. And then
yeah.
they throw their little money in there. We should check in with Steve, and then I have more to say about sports cards because I
Yeah,
have
I
a
just came to. I gave it in to get a quick update. I'm running late today, but and after March 3rd, hopefully I'll be able to do more time with you guys. But I guess the main thing is peace looks like it's going to happen in the Middle East. That's good news. We'll see what happens. No government deal in sight. It's starting to worry me a little bit. I think there's going to be people that are going to have a hard time making it through, especially as you get closer to November, getting the holidays. So hopefully they can come up with something. He's still calling them obstructionists, the Democrats, but I think it would be nice for the president to come in and try to work this thing out. And in North Carolina, everyone's talking about Roy Cooper, U.S. Senate, Durham, Leo Williams, who I spoke with yesterday, had a significant victory in the primary. And I think people are just frustrated with the division. So that's what I'm hearing out there. I've never seen our country so divided in the United States, and much more than I've ever seen in the years even that we've been doing this show. I don't know how we get through it. I don't know whether we
Hey,
get to having more conversations in person and coffee diner talks, coffee talks. I don't know, but anyway, go ahead, Sasha.
hey, Steve, just really quickly along those lines, what are your thoughts? Because it has been very heated debates. I did watch the YouTube video of Hakeem Jeffries as he was coming out of some of the whole negotiations and the talks, and was accosted by Matt Lawler and everything. I think that was Lawler, if I remember correctly, that was basically having this long argument with him about trying to get him to sign on to the agreement and break the government shutdown. But it sounded like he was holding tight in his belief that there need to be more concessions from the Republicans and everything like that. Because he was even criticizing the big beautiful bill, Jeffries was, and everything, whereas the other gentleman was basically saying that a lot of folks, including folks in New York, where Jeffries represented, had won some significant concessions. Even now, whether that's true or not, only time will tell. But I was just wondering your take on some of these confrontational political things that are taking place.
Well, I mean, I think the stakes are high, jobs are on site, and I just think that it's just a really contentious situation. And Yeah, I mean, and you know, all I have to say is I hope they can cool tempers down and negotiate. Sasha, you have a point, so I don't want to keep him waiting.
A
Sasha,
couple of points. 49% of Americans want to impeach Trump. 49%. Number two, uh, Democrats, Jeffries, and whoever else there is, they don't need any deals with Republicans. They have now, what, 47 uh, votes against shutdown. The Republicans have 53. So they have to keep their coalition untouched, together, and have shut down basically indefinitely, not to agree to any proposals from Republicans, hold on to their beliefs, and push for anything what they want to achieve, including impeachment of Trump, or the Article 25, where he would be recognized as incapacitated and no longer be able to hold on to his president duties. Enough is enough, and shutdown will bring Trump presidency and Republican rules down.
Yeah, here you go. Hey, by the way, and this is for you, Steve, while you're still here and everything. It was actually Mike Lawler. I think Matt Lawler may be the commentator and everything, but it was Mike Lawler, who is a fellow congressman and everything like that. But one of the things that Hakeem Jeffrey said was this notion of Mike Lawler and the other Republicans being controlled by Trump and his wishes and everything, because he actually asked him whether his boss approved, and that's when he was actually referring to Trump as Mike Lawler and the other Republicans' bosses and everything. So, how much do you think Trump is in control of his Republican majority?
um, I think he's still in control. I think he manages by fear, almost like if you don't support me, we're going to primary you. Um, I do think people are concerned about just some of his policies. I know that Tom Tillis broke away about North Carolina losing Medicaid because of the big beautiful bill and Medicare coverage. So and then so I think people are going to start breaking away, but the fear is there's a consequence if you break away. So I still think he has control because he's a bit of a bully, and he's created kind of Trumpism as a litmus test of whether you're true conservative or not. So that's my take on it. Whether this will continue in the next year to 2 years, especially as we look at who will be his successor. And I've heard a rumor it's going to be Marco Rubio, probably not J.D. Vance, who I think he's going to anoint to run as the first viable Hispanic American presidential candidate. But that's rumors I've been hearing from Republican circles.
Yeah,
That,
this
that,
could be
that would
getting
be a smart choice because nobody likes J.D. Vance. His approval ratings are low, maybe the lowest for any VP in history. And also, he just gives off a creepy vibe. Rubio is if he hasn't been dirtied up too much from his role in the current administration, he's very Christian, and
Yeah.
he's as a lib, he annoys me a little bit or a lot, but he seems to be surviving with more integrity than a
He
lot of
does
the.
have higher numbers of Hispanic voters. So, I mean, I think in terms of just, he's never been Hispanic to run for president. But I think that if they put Rubio at the top of the ticket, plus he's going to have the Secretary of State role, gives him, access to world leaders and things. I've got to run, guys. That's my take for today. Those are the main issues, to talk about. And I'll try to be back tomorrow or next week. Early happy Diwali to all of you, which is really on October 20th. The Festival of Lights, celebration of good over evil, light over darkness. And boy, what a good time to be thinking about that. Thank you all so much. And I'll be back tomorrow.
See, I want to go back to sports cards for just a second because I'm looking at a bunch of them, and that they sell some of the high-end cards sell for $500, $2,000, but there are all sorts of costs that work against you getting your money back if you ever try to sell them. One thing is the grading services. That if you want somebody to, you put your card in a plastic case to protect it, and then you have a company tell you how in what condition it's in, and it's like rare coins. And to get a company to tell you, they're going to charge you 3.5% of the value of the card. And all right, another thing is during COVID, apparently, people had more time to sit at home and play with their stuff because they were locked down, which led to an increase in card prices. And can that be sustained? I Googled sports card bubble, and there's a lot of talk about there being a bubble. It's not a, you shouldn't be using sports cards as an investment. As a hobby, yeah, but not to make, turn $100,000 into $200,000.
Yeah, but that makes sense. Just a quick correction on something Steve said, because I think Marco Rubio may have run for the president at least once or twice, but I got to get that confirmed. But I do know there have been Hispanic candidates for president. None have won, but Benjamin Fernandez was the first major party presidential contender of Hispanic origin, running for president 3 times with serious campaigns in 1980, 84, and 88. And additionally, Claudia de la Cruz ran for president in the 2024 election with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. So sometimes they are like third party candidates, but there have been folks of Hispanic background that have tried to make it as president. And like I said, I'm trying to remember.
The landscape keeps changing where Latinos are now 20% of the U.S. population, 68 million people. And that goes up every year. So the landscape, if you're looking to get votes from your people of your same ethnicity, keeps improving.
But it's not a monolithic landscape. I keep saying that a lot of times
people
get caught up in monolithic. People get caught up in thinking that certain.
I was just going to say Marco Rubio. So Marco Rubio, he didn't. I don't think he ran for president, because if he would have, it would have been in 2014 up against Trump. But I don't think he was part of that big batch that went through. He lost his credibility because he didn't run again in 2020 or even in 2024. No real Republican really ran at that moment because they had already ceded everything to Trump. But Marco Rubio lost his credibility once he had that follow-up to the presidential address and when he was drinking a lot of water. And that lost all credibility, so he wasn't going to be able to run after that because of the jokes.
So Rubio ran for president in 2016, at which point Trump labeled him Little Marco. He does that to have that against him. People like to vote for taller candidates, and he's not a tall guy. He might be 5'10", 5'9". He's not ridiculously short, but he's not Trump, who claims to be 6'3".
He just claimed to be 6'3". Just really quickly, because the Pope brought it up as well. How important in both the United States and just around the world are we thinking these immigration issues are going to be? Because even the Pope is wanting to have more rights for immigrants in the various countries, not just the United States, but around the world. And that's something that he wrote in his recent directive. I think that's what they call those things.
The immigration problem won't go away for the rest of this century. Climate change may displace hundreds of millions of people. Climate change contributes to civil wars in countries, and Western countries have already been pissed off either through internal politics or through external propaganda from Russia to gin up hate of immigrants. If you look at the daily lives of people in the UK and America, you may see immigrants around you on the tube in England, but they are not fucking up your life. But propaganda says, that you need to be afraid of these people.
the logic behind that is the great replacement theory, which came out of a racist doctrine in the first place. But that's where the brown people are coming for your jobs and all the other things came from. But migration, Rick, you're spot on because yes, people are nomadic in nature, and the global warming is going to push people everywhere because it's only going to get worse. Droughts, everything else. I mean, we have to plan for this rather than demonize people.
Yeah.
Sasha was going to
Sasha,
say,
you had a point you were going to make.
Well, there are some countries, for example, like Poland. It's member of NATO. It's member of European Union. However, no immigrants in Poland except Ukrainians because of this, because of the war, just because of that. So the country absolutely closed its borders to any immigrants from any countries. That's example of what other European country must do. If they choose to do it or not, I don't know. UK limited immigration was one of the reasons why UK left European Union. They wanted to have their own immigration policy. I don't know really what they're doing about that now. I have no idea. Now, European Union, they still keep status quo, and I don't know for how long they will do it.
Hey, Sasha, you said this a couple of times about the whole notion of poll is for polls only and everything along those lines. And I know there's some other countries that have that attitude as well. But even though you bring that up regularly and everything along those lines, doesn't your own life contradict that? Because you are a Canadian citizen that is originally the Soviet Union by way of Ukraine, or by, yeah, because Ukraine was your birthplace, so everything like that. So I'm wondering if that couldn't be a contradiction if people at some point could have said Canadians is for Canadians only, and then you wouldn't be in Canada.
Well, Mark, I think you are you are exaggerating about comparing my immigration to what's happening to tried immigration to Poland. First of all, Canada is a country of immigrants. So to immigrate to Canada, especially when I did it dozens of years ago, that was a almost usual, regular thing. And it's still going on right now. Canada still accepts a lot of people from all over the world, provided that they sort of fall into one of the channels. For example, there is education requirements, monetary requirements, family requirements, your age. There are a lot of components. I'm talking about only legal immigration, because illegal is something else, and illegal immigration not proliferating in Canada simply because of the oceans and because of the United States proximity, and of course Canada trying to guard its border with US, because who can immigrate from US illegally? It's mostly criminals. So they're trying to keep that border as close as possible. And in my time, I got landed immigrant status even before I came to Canada. I was at that time in Italy with my family, and we applied for Canadian immigrant status. We got our papers, and only after that we flew to Canada and settled there. Now, in Poland, you can apply. Theoretically, it's possible that you can apply for some kind of status in Poland, probably a temporary life status to just live in Poland for some time or so on. But it's up to Poland to grant you that status or not. And right now, they are not granting that status to anybody. That's just as simple as that. Poland is for Poles only. Full stop, period.
I mean, yes, I just did a brief thing. I don't know, Rick, if you can jump on it too and just search the Polish immigration. But yes, they're selective in their immigration status. I just saw that, and yes, they're not immigrant friendly. but they do selective immigration for particular occupations.
Okay.
So yeah, there. I mean, yes, you say it's a strict immigration thing, but again, that doesn't really say that it's a good thing. For example, you take 90 billion, you take the billions of dollars that immigrants put into the U.S. GDP. That's why our dollar value has dropped 10%, as well as the GDP really sitting at an average of what was it, 1.5 at the beginning, now at 3, whatever that hit in the second quarter. So you're looking at a GDP that's really low, that's already lower than the average that it was last year. So removal of immigrants is not really the greatest of things, and not accepting immigrants is not really the greatest of things either.
So right wingers like to, when they talk about immigrants, they try to get you afraid that Muslims are going to take over America. The U.S. is currently about 1% Muslim, about 3 million Muslims out of a population of a third of a billion. They're not going to take over. England is about 6.5% Muslim. 4 million Muslims out of a population of 65 million, 70 million people. And yeah, in London, you see Muslim people all over the place. Is it a bad vibe? No. It's you see people, shop girls might have, some headgear. They don't send off hate waves at you. They just want to live their lives.
So again, it goes back to, and I hate to bring it up again, but it's that whole idea around the Great Replacement theory. What we're talking about when we're talking about immigration and the demonizing of people, we're not talking about the Ukrainians, as you added that in there as acceptable for Poland because they're seen as white individuals in the first place. What happens is we demonize those who are brown, Muslims, Hispanic individuals, those from Africa, the many countries in Africa, but that's what ends up happening. And that's where the demonization around immigration
all right,
comes
there's a way to not be replaced. And the way to not be replaced is to not suck. Like if you're good at what you do, you won't be replaced. White supremacy is really white inferiority. It's whites who suck, who are dumb and bad at stuff, trying to protect their privilege.
Hey, Rick, they're mad at everything. But I had one question for you really quickly. When you said your figure about the U.S. Muslim population, is that Muslims that are the traditional Muslims, like the Shiites and the Sunnis, or does it include the American Muslim population, which is a whole different subset, but it still practices Islam?
I haven't Googled it, but I'm not sure what percent of, that would be often among Black people. And
right. And there's a significant amount of people that are.
So Black people are 12 to 13% of the U.S. population. And then Muslims among Black people, it would be a subset of Anyway, I'm going to Google it and I'll let you know.
My guess is that it's not it's not including the American Muslims, as they are not seen as the same thing as Black people aren't seen as the Africans that people from Uganda or people other areas there. So I think it's a separation between the two.
All right. So here's what I got. So the number of Muslims in America, between 3.45 million and 4.5 million, of those 20% are African American homegrown Muslims.
Right, well, and that's right. So like 1 out of 5 is the Muslim population.
Yeah. But again, nobody's taking over America via being Muslim. My buddy Lance freaks out because he says, Muslims, they have 5 kids and Whitey only has 1 kid. And what I tell frickin' Lance is, if you want to freak out about something, it's not Muslims, because in the time that Muslims add another million in America, we will be adding 200 billion AIs in America.
Right. A better response, honestly, if he goes down the road of, hey, Muslims are having so many babies, has he ever talked to anybody who's Mormon? So you could run down that pathway, because that is actually a religion that also pushes for a lot of children, because according to the religion, you can only have sex if you are going to procreate. So therefore, it's pushing the idea of having more children because you can have sex.
You can have multiple,
But either way,
wives.
And that honestly, they try and explain away the multiple wives based on how you get into heaven and you have the multiple wives there, but that's based on a whole different subset and ideology around, well, a whole piece of that religion. But either way, that religion, the Mormon religion, is just fine, just as fine as the Muslim religion, people of the Muslim faith. The thing is, the people continue to demonize people of the Muslim faith because they see them as brown individuals, and that's the whole point. Like with Catholic, for example,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, for example, Catholics. A lot of people coming from Mexico and South America and all the other places, most of them are Catholic because that is the dominant religion in that area. Yet you're not hearing anybody talk about Catholicism taking over the country and dominating this. No, you're talking about their skin color. That's what ends up happening and what people get fear of.
And another thing that's happening, if you want to preserve, white Christian culture, quit being dicks. Like the Christian people are leaving Christianity because they see like militant MAGA evangelicals being very unchristian in their being dickheads, and younger people are like, well, F that, you're completely hypocritical. So
hypocritical. Yeah, a lot of people being hypocritical and everything like that. Just really quickly, we're getting to round up. We got the World Politics at 5 and a number of other shows coming this way on the network and everything like that. But Jacoby, I was actually watching another YouTube clip that was very interesting, and it kind of plays to your conversation that you bring up about the great replacement theory. It was a gentleman that said that he could almost point to the time, and it was in October of 1960, ironically, since we're in October of this year, that African Americans became Democrats. And it was at a time that apparently, I think it was Martin Luther King and his family wanted to approach the two presidential candidates about kind of like intervening in some of the things that were going on and everything along those lines. And LBJ kind of like avoided the intervention and all in that space, whereas JFK was willing to intervene. And at that point, Martin Luther King's father got together with the black press, got together with the black churches, and basically converted a lot of the people that at that time were Republicans, because at that time they were Republicans. But after that particular call that took, like they said, about 90 seconds and everything, because he was trying to reach both of the candidates who were running against each other and everything along those lines, that's when they made the switch to the Democratic Party.
So Johnson, LBJ, was a power-hungry bastard. He played power games in the Congress. He would one of his favorite things to do is call somebody into the Oval Office for a meeting and take a shit in front of them, just sit on the toilet and hold the meeting, just to show that he was, he could do that. But for some reason, probably the death of Kennedy, he got a bug up his butt, and he decided we are going to get civil rights legislation passed, even if I get nothing else done. He used all his wiles and his power and his connections to help push it through at the cost of losing whitey in the South to the Republicans. And
that was that whole era right then and there. There was a lot of switching, and people want to ignore all of the things that happened. This is why, in getting into those discussions with people, the Democrats created a Klan. Yes, you're right. It came out of a whole policing of runaway slaves. I mean, that's the whole Klan right there. That's the way it evolved. You don't want to admit that, but okay. So let's not get into that discussion. Let's just do the simple. Where is the Confederate battle flag being flown? And when you go down that path, then they get quiet.
And the crazy thing about police in America is that modern police forces came into being 150 years ago as slave hunting organizations. They
Yep, no doubt. Well, time to get on out of here. It was good to see some good news from the entertainment world and everything like that, because a lot of people were concerned that the legendary country singer, speaking of country singers, Dolly Parton was passing away and everything like that, and it turns out to be a false rumor because she's going like, "I'm still here, I'm still
put out
living,
a video
I'm still
saying,
singing."
yeah. One more thing from entertainment. For the first time in history, broadcast viewership viewing the major broadcast networks has dropped under 20%. Less than one person in five watching TV is watching the big four broadcasters: Fox, NBC, ABC, etc.
Well,
Yep.
that's an interesting statistic. So on that note, we're going to get on out of here. I'll see you fellows at 5:00. Hopefully, I don't know though. So, we got a game in hockey, so maybe Jacoby will be there. Maybe he won't. We'll find out, because I know that there is a game. I think that was today that I saw.
I mean, we'll see.
We'll see. I just happened to notice it when I was looking at the news yesterday. I was like, wait a minute, that looks like the first game. So we'll see if Jacoby's on the road heading into the game, or whether he's jammed by the game. But hopefully, I'll see you.
All right.
All right.